Mental Mosaic, written by Antoine Shelton, read by Antoine Shelton. Prologue. So, what's it like to feel manic? To have racing thoughts like NASCAR? You bet, kid. To be hypervigilant and have paranoia? Yep, that too. To be delusional beyond belief? You know it. The desire to abuse substances at an incredible rate? I've had the urges and fought them. To be hypersexual? Yeah, but this is 50 Shades of Purple, so please put the book down and go get a refund and return it to your local bookstore or library. That's what you're getting yourself into. This story is an unfortunate story about a guy who was deprived of food and has a lot of mental hangups, plus some bad and bizarre decisions. What's the trigger? Stress and hereditary tend to contribute to it. Is there a cure? Not yet. Maybe I'll find one. Yeah, right. Because if and when I do have kids, I don't want them to go through what I have to go through because it's not fun and I wouldn't wish it upon anyone. I gotta check 23andMe.com at some point to see what the chances are. I do want a wife one day. I just don't know who's a valuable candidate. And no, I'm not getting involved in online dating or a dating show. Did you read the cover? This is not flavor of love. I do savor love. Some say there's none above, and they become adjusted from the guys from stars above. But the stars frown upon me for a month. Warning, this is a scatterboard for scatterbrains. Chapter 1, A Rude Awakening. Let us begin. The day was July 19th, 2014, I believe. Greg, Kim, Tristan, and I were in the park kicking around a green ball after we got done with the swings. It was a beautiful summer day, but one that would take a turn for the worse later. Also, there was music in the park being performed by some guys whose names I don't know, but most seemed to enjoy the mix of country, classic rock, and blues they played. This photographer guy, Andy Liebenguth, was there too. He strongly urged us to pose for a picture and pointed at me in a certain way that was very familiar and broke down the meaning of his last name. Something about loving life or something like that. I asked him what kind of camera he had, and he said that it was a Nikon DSLR, which costs around $400. I personally wouldn't pay that much for a camera, but I do want a high quality one like that one day. He said the picture would be on the Lansford Alive website. I asked him, "Are you sure Lansford is alive?" He assured me that Lansford is alive, but personally, I think the place is practically a ghost town, maybe with some walking dead. Anyway, we weren't there for long, and after that, I went to the track to run laps. Unfortunately, I only ran one lap, then I felt my asthma start to affect me. I started wheezing and coughing. Then I decided to walk the Turkey Hill, where I ran into Dave, and he mentioned this bar where you can play whatever kind of music you want to play. It was in Summit Hill, but that wouldn't come into play until later. I'm sure we went to the seemingly abandoned Silver Line aluminum plant. The water looked tainted from some kind of chemical spill. The first thing that anybody would notice is that the area, all the graffiti that was around there. The place is beyond tagged up with mostly the names of couples. There are also abandoned train tracks and people on ATVs. Even though the place looks abandoned, some of the rooms still have lights on. There's also a creepy junkyard with cars, trucks, and buses behind a gate. After looking at the website, 2016 will be their last operational year in Lansford, PA. Apparently, they expanded and outsourced to other countries. Anyway, I'm being a clown like I tend to be sometimes and shouting out random video game quotes like, "Are you okay? Bust out Wolf! Congratulations! Charging Star! How? Shokoken! Plus, who could forget Chipuken?" Not only that, I'm laughing maniacally and saying, "It's all over now." In the magnificent, "It's garbage day." I recorded most of these quotes on my 3DS, and they're pretty fun to listen to. My Shipukin is almost as good as Geese Howard's. What's not funny, and maybe this happened from a lack of eating, but I became manic and delusional. For some reason, I imagined that there was this 3DS game called Lost Civilization, where you could take pictures of everyday items, make them look like artifacts slash special items slash weapons. I took a picture of this fan blade, which to me looked like Captain America's shield. I was convinced I was going to be able to use a Captain America shield in another game, but that was just delusional nonsense. My overactive imagination is literally creating games that don't exist. One day I would like to design a video game if possible. My overactive imagination will be put to good use. Plus, I can draw, write, and do concept art and character designs. Anyway, I remember riding the fan blade like it was a sled down a hill, and that was pretty fun. Not long after that, the sun started to set, so we decided to head back to our respective homes. I think Kim made dinner, so I went over to the smallest place and we had burgers. When I was ready to go home and walk towards my place, there were a lot of people standing outside, which seemed very suspicious, almost like they were out for blood. I remember walking with the family, like it would protect me from whatever these people wanted to do with me. Nothing happened. They just probably thought I was a weirdo, like most people do. I've never claimed to be normal, nor do I know what normal is. I remember taking a shower, washing off the gunk that was on the shield. Our shower got pretty hot, so it was washed well and it was clean. But this fan blade slash shield seemed to attract negative vibes in people. The next few days were very blurry. I remember going down to the laundromat and having this decent conversation with this guy named Eric, who was decked out in Duck Dynasty gear for some reason, about certain verses in the Bible that are still relevant today, in Corinthians and then some other books he mentioned. I don't know what happened to this guy. I remember July 23rd, 2014, which is my brother Ronnie's birthday. He died 17 years ago in 2014, 18 in 2015. He would have been 38 in 2014, 39 in 2015. It's actually pretty sad that this still affects me, but I felt what I think was his spirit in 2014 for some reason. I snapped on my speech teacher, Professor McGuire, and I felt at the time that I had the explosive rage I remember seeing my brother exhibit when he was arguing with my mom near the end of his life. I wish I had a legitimate logical explanation behind it, but I don't. I'm pretty skeptical of the supernatural, but I can feel it for some reason. I think there was some connection in Mortal Kombat X. Mortal Kombat was one of Ronnie's favorites. I remember going around for Ronnie and winning sometimes when I was 5. Back to the suspiciousness, our shower valve got broken from what I believe is attempted murder from a Jesus freak that tried to choke me out in the dark as he read Bible verses to me and kept demanding I say Jesus, when instead I said, "Why do you think you're so righteous?" I remember losing my breath like I almost died, then silence. I regained consciousness a minute or two later. I remember finding some blog talking about religion holding back society and all the scientific and medical advancements there have been. There was an experiment on the blog, I want to say 2 Gokus, one with a cross, the other without. There were statistics on the blog too, but I forget most of them. I remember it said religious sites have more malware than porn sites, which is hilarious and ironic, but it fits with the hypocrisy. There was also a thing about conspiracy theories, which most of them are silly tinfoil hat nonsense. Conspiracy theories distract people from real issues that are going on, says some boogeyman that's never going to come snatch you out of your bed while you're sleeping. Ever since I was young, maybe 12 or 13, I always thought that religion should be questioned, not accepted blindly, because people just become overtaken with insanity and psychosis. Plus, religion has been the motivation behind many tragedies in the world, like the Crusades, so I personally feel it does no good. But if somehow, some way, people can find some positive way for it to affect them, then I guess that's good for them. Someone once said that religion is like a drug. Some people get hooked pretty badly, the more irrational they become, almost as if they're possessed. No matter if you're very religious, a little bit religious, or not religious at all, we can all agree that speaking in tongues is not an acceptable social activity. I remember getting a bath, then getting dressed. Chapter 2: The Slow Descent. After I finished my bath, I get dressed. I remember Tristan was asking me to play my 3DS. At first, I think he's playing Super Mario Bros. 3, then Sonic Lost World, and he asked me for help on how to walk on walls and how to get through the stage. Then I went through the main menu and chose the Nintendo 3DS Sound / Music program. This part is really important because it ties into a lot of the aspects / clues / hints to the mystery that I haven't solved. So Tristan and I start hitting the instruments haphazardly at first, then eventually we start coordinating the beat. And after that, I turn on my Wi-Fi, and these 4 symbols pop up on the screen: a robot, a tunnel, a trumpet, and low harmony. Now here's where more video game references rear their ugly heads. I connected the 4 symbols to bass, who originally showed up in Mega Man 7, which I think is the first Mega Man game I played. Now, 1 month before I snapped, I went to see Mega Man in concert for the first time at Too Many Games Expo in Oaks, PA. For those not familiar with Mega Man, he uses Mega Man as an influence / allegory for the things going on in his life, and it's pretty clever how he does it. He's very down to earth, plus he has a cool voice, and he's a good storyteller. Also, he's from Philly, which is another important thing to keep in mind for later. He was also a teacher, which is another important clue. Anyway, back to Tristan and I remember that Dave from Turkey Hill said that he needed a father figure, someone to look up to, which he does, and it's very similar to how I looked up to Ronnie when he was one of the only positive role models / father figures that I had growing up. When Ronnie died on March 9th, 1997, I felt like I lost the most important person in my life that helped shape me to the person that I was going to be. I wanted to be just like him until near the end of his life when I saw how he was going to jail for marijuana and how his friends were taking advantage of his kindness by screwing him over with borrowing money. But most of the positive memories I have were connected to video games, hip hop, and comic books, called the Unholy Trinity. The positive memories I have will live on forever. I must have been 4 or 5 years old when he got me a Super Nintendo with F-Zero and Super Mario World. And Super Mario World is important because when I looked outside into the sky, there were fireworks being shot off like getting a Super Mario World. I noticed that the fireworks were in the direction of Summit Hill. I believe Dave said it was St. Joe's Bar was a place where we could play wherever music we wanted. So I grabbed Adriana's laptop and my USB speakers. I put on swimming trunks because I thought I was going to be swimming based upon this dream I had about South Park, but I'll get to that later. So back to my Golden Legend of Zelda Special Edition 3DS. I opened up Street Pass and I saw that I had met some new people. One of them was a fire witch who was either connected to Legend of Zelda or Game of Thrones. I haven't seen Game of Thrones yet, so I couldn't connect the dots there. I think I heard somebody say her name was Lady Melisandre. I haven't played any Zelda games in a while, so I don't remember her name. Then I remember Catherine Rose from Renita High School. She played a rapping witch into the play Into the Woods by Stephen Sondheim. I was Cinderella's father in that play and had maybe 7 lines, but I also did the voice of the crying baby and moved the shadow of the giant from Jack and the Beanstalk. Into the Woods is basically a fairy tale crossover. Crossovers are integral to this whole story, as you will see later, in spurts. So I noticed that the power went out and all the cars were heading to St. Joe's Bar in Summit Hill. By simply following their turn signal, they led me to the place, and I noticed when I got there was a long message for the fire witch, but I didn't read it because I was too manic for that shit. I street passed this guy named Kane for the second time when I showed up there. Things only got more bizarre from this point on. Chapter 3, The Fire Witch. When I arrived at this bar slash church, there were people on a stage announcing names and what town they were from. Now, at the time, I had no idea why or what reason they were announcing these names. My only clue around the same time was another Catherine I knew. In high school, her name was Catherine Self. I'm thinking her name changed because her Facebook says Catherine Septim Semper Denise. Now, in July 2014, or around that time, she had Parasol from Skullgirls as her profile picture or her cover picture. Now, I believe around that time is when Lab Zero, the Skullgirls developers, launched a Kickstarter or Indiegogo for Skullgirls Encore. Lab Zero showed a bunch of concept art for new characters and the in-depth cost and implementation of the characters into the game. I love the first edition of Skullgirls, so I intended to contribute, but I was too broke and couldn't contribute, unfortunately. Even though I could be completely wrong about what they were announcing. It seemed like they were announcing people who contributed to the Indiegogo slash Kickstarter. I'm not sure if I'll ever know anyway. So after the announcements were over, I ran around screaming about a fire witch. I went inside the building and asked people if they'd seen the fire witch. Everyone looked at me like I was on meth, which is pretty popular in Lansford, but I never touched the stuff. I'm pretty sure that's an upper, which is the last thing my warped mind needs. But anyway, I become super manic or reach full-on psychosis and start driving around playing the horn intro from Modest Mouse's Good News for People Who Love Bad News over and over again, hoping it was connected to the 4 sound symbols I saw on my 3DS, which I linked to bass from Mega Man 7. I was really gone at this point, and I started getting out of my car and screaming if people knew Skullgirls and Mega Man 7. No one knew what the hell I was talking about. I guess these games were too obscure. Then I started rolling on the ground and spazzing out. It was around this time that 1 or 2 cops pulled me over. I remember seeing both Lansford and Summit Hill cops. I was maybe 2 blocks from my apartment when I got pulled over. The pig manhandled me and threw me in a car with handcuffs. I later found out that my car was taken to Cragistérix Automotive on Patterson Street. So I was dragged into an ambulance and repeatedly asked my name. I only told one of them my full name. Then from there, I was overwhelmed with questions from paramedics, plus my thoughts spewing out of my head uncontrollably, not really coming across as coherent, but cryptic like broken pieces of a mosaic or mural or even a collage. And the only person who can put all the pieces of this jigsaw puzzle comprised of dreams, nightmares, night terrors, lucid rapid eye movement, and parallel processing gone wild is me. But that doesn't mean I'm alone in my search. There are many characters in this theater of the mind. I revealed some of them. Some of them are real people, others are fictional characters, but all their roles are important. If you're the kind of person that tries to look at the big picture, If you're not, then I'm surprised that you got this far in this ridiculous story. Anyway, continuing from the ambulance to the hospital, I'm sure the cops or the paramedics asked me where I'm from, and as usual, I say Oklahoma, and I always get a crazy reaction. Then I show my OK driver's license as proof of purchase. So I arrived at St. Luke's Minor Medical in Coaldale, PA, maybe 3 minutes from where I live. Of course, when I get there, I was asked a shitload of questions. I don't do so good being interrogated when I'm manic, but I'm sure they drugged me up with a syringe and they started asking me about Catherine. As I mentioned earlier, I know two Catherines, Catherine Rose and Catherine Second Semper Denise. Now, in contrast to Atlas's video game Catherine, there's no Catherine with a C in this story. Or is there? Adriana, my current fiance, shares a lot of similarities to Catherine with a K from Atlas's Catherine. Confused that? There's a Catherine with a C in this story, but her name is not Catherine. I'll give you a clue. Her name starts with an E and she shares Catherine's traits. Chapter 4, Tale of Two Catherines. Alright, so the doctors and nurses started asking me about Catherine with a K. So one of them is a teacher. I'll let you figure out which one she is. Very simple process of elimination. Then I said she's very intelligent. Spoiler alert, they both are. Then there's L-Tri-C, or Lehigh Carbon Community College, with a trumpet. I'm still confused about this part. I don't know, a Catherine with a C or a Catherine with a K that goes to L-Tri-C and plays the trumpet or any instrument that's part of the horn section and made out of brass. Maybe I dreamt that Catherine was going to my school since that's where I'm going. It's wishful thinking. They even mailed out comic books to advertise. I tried to be in band in middle school, but they didn't have enough instruments, so I was kicked out. I told them I'll even play the triangle, but no luck. So I had to change my class schedule to PE, aka gym, but that's besides the point. I believe it was Nina Simone who first made a song about four women to symbolize life. Later, Talib Kweli and Common Market also made songs about the same thing. Talib Kweli's song is called Four Women, while Common Market's song is called Love One. Great minds think alike, the saying goes. I'm only halfway there myself. One mother, one sister, one daughter, one wife. I don't have a daughter or wife yet. I hope Adriana's the one, but maybe no such thing exists. Maybe it's just another fairy tale we're misled to believe, like Santa Claus and the Tooth Fairy. To quote Madonna's Don't Tell Me, tell me love isn't true, it's just something that we do. Moving on, somehow my writing of rappers came into the picture, and then people mention conscious rappers. I hate it because it sounds stupid. Does that mean anybody who's not conscious is simply unconscious? Yeah, it sounds dumb. You know what else sounds dumb? Underground rappers. To quote Mos Def, aka Yasin Bey, we don't rhyme below sea level. Anyway, I'm going off on a tangent. Or am I? Back to St. Luke's now. They asked me to take off my clothes for some medical procedure, but I refused, even though I mentioned I was in the army, so they thought I'd be used to being violated, but I wasn't feeling it at the moment. They kept trying to strip me down, but I lost and became manic again. I kept hearing the sounds of Mario coins and Sonic rings being collected, and people laughing along with the sounds. I started twitching and laughing like Daffy Duck, and I kicked my shoe off at the ceiling. I completely lost my mind and went blank after that. Allegedly, I had a tonic-clonic, aka a grand mal seizure. After that, I remember being in St. Louis and Bethlehem. I don't know if they drove me there, if they flew me by helicopter, they must have drugged me up beyond recognition, so I don't recall. I remember seeing lights behind the curtain, and I was very nervous laying in the bed. There was music that coordinated with the lights. I want to say I had two visitors, both Catherines. Maybe. I felt like this is a dream, but it felt real. Maybe I had no visitors at all. And then I became depressed that there was no one there to see me after they left. Or wasn't it me and they're all in my imagination? Then I became lonely and I thought of hurting myself, but the hospital items started hurting me and I needed a lot of gauze. And I remember either rappers or people in the army operate these advanced pieces of technology to wrap gauze or make body parts similar to casting mold or 3D printing. I passed out for a while after that. The next thing I remember is rehearsing some scene for a movie. I don't think I had any lines where one of the two Erics was talking to me about how to react to Adriana when she showed up. Maybe my role was improv because I'm not very good at remembering lines. This is only a theory, so I could be completely wrong. So anyway, Adriana is there asking me questions, usually in interrogation mode. I'm answering the best I can because my memory was pretty bad at this point. I remember there was a car wreck the night before, and she told me she went to the police and put out a missing persons report or something of that nature. because she cares deeply for me as I do for her. At this point in our relationship, we were together 5 years, lived together for 4. Now we've been together 6 years, lived together for 5. She says as the years have gone by, things have gotten worse between us. We both have gone through a lot of things, and most of the bad things happening is my fault, which I've owned up to, and I'm accepted and ready to move on, but I don't know if she is. Back to St. Lou, because I was mirroring Eric's smartphone shenanigans, he told her that I was paranoid schizophrenic. Even though it's not real, I imagine there was a South Park smartphone game that let you play rhythm games to the songs from the show and the movie that Eric was playing. Damn me and my overactive imagination. Chapter 5, Going Deeper. I'm going to start this off with Catherine. Which one? Catherine Sectum Semper Denise. If you're like me, you're wondering what the hell Sectum Semper means. It sounds like Latin, which I don't know much of, but I had a nurse at Lehigh Valley Health Network look it up, and she said it was connected to Harry Potter. Now, I have nothing against Harry Potter, but I just finished reading the Bible when those books came out, and they were the same size or maybe even bigger than the Bible. So I said, no, I'm not reading those. But I remember seeing the first movie in middle school or high school, and for some reason seeing the last one like at IMAX in Philly or Atlantic City. Anyway, now on to the meaning of the mysterious Sectum Sempra. It's a very dark curse that causes a cut, that's Sectum, which will not heal ever, and that's Sempra. Personally, I think this is deep, fun, pun fully intended. Like Sheryl Crow said, the first cut is the deepest. Even though Sheryl Crow was talking about her first relationship, it didn't work out, I can connect this to Ronnie. It was my first real loss of a relative, the most important one for me. I remember being depressed for months, maybe even a year. I'm not sure if I've ever gotten over it, so maybe that's my Sectum Sempra. Looking at Kat's profile picture now, she looks just like Catherine with a K from Alice's Catherine, who's Catherine with a K, the constant lover, or something to that nature. I don't know if that makes me Vincent or what, since I'm going to school for IT/CIS. And I do think he's a software developer or something to that effect. But if I'm Vincent, then Adriana is Catherine with a K, the constant lover, who he's having nightmares about her trying to kill him over jealous rage, maybe anxiety/insecurities, or as I call it, suspicionosity. So in the nightmares, you must climb to the top by lining up blocks and pushing and shoving them so they make stairs so you can proceed to the top to escape the nightmare and wake up. Then go to the bar called The Stray Sheep. When you're at the bar, you can check your phone for texts or talk to the other patrons of the bar. However, Vincent's title/role in Alice's Catherine is Lost Lamb. A year ago, in July 2014, I felt like a lost lamb, but I don't feel that way now. I feel like my car crash was a wake-up call for my life, but back to St. Luke's in Bethlehem. I thought I was being filmed, and that every piece of media I consumed somehow related to me or someone I knew. I remember turning the channel to Jerry Springer, and there were couples arguing about cheating, which made me think of my friend Zach, who dealt with his woman cheating on him, and he used much of his money. Then I turned the channel to a kids show because I figured I couldn't connect anything with a children's show, except maybe think of Wonder Chosen, which is a pretty messed up show that makes fun of children's shows. Then I turned the channel to local events and noticed some Halloween events and thought of costumes and cosplayers. Then I noticed LPN named Ellen wearing blue scrubs. Now, like Catherine would have seen from Alice's Catherine, she had blonde hair and blue eyes. I noticed that she had a certain gleam in her eyes, like, I want you now type of stare. As usual, this makes me kind of nervous, but I'm at this woman's mercy, and she was coming on me pretty strong with the flirtatious vibes. My first thought is, why would anyone be attracted to me, especially in the situation I was in? I figure the more people know about me, the less they will like me, because I'm fairly strange and occasionally polarizing. So Ellen keeps flirting with me, and then I explain to her that I'm engaged, have a fiance, so she dials back the flirt. Chapter 6, Hooked Up to the Game. So, in the midst of being at St. Louis and Bethlehem's a very scattered stained glass window of different colors, characters, words, people, and I swear I was being recorded. So my theory with the Mario coins and the Sonic rings ties into a Kickstarter campaign for JoJo's Bizarre Adventure movie. Spoiler, it's not real, unfortunately. Maybe it's just wishful thinking on my part. Update, there is a live action movie based upon part 4, Diamond is Unbreakable. The more you know. I feel like I was being filmed and asked to do very specific things that match the scene. I also feel there was a horror movie that took place in a mental hospital that ties into things. Also, Platinum, the famous game development studio, ties into some aspects. They used to be called Clover Studio when they were under Capcom. Some musicians also tied to things like Tech 9, because I felt like I had an E-Ba, an evil brain angel heart. Plus some actors too. I believe Zach Braff, JD from Scrubs, was there. He was in this documentary called Video Games and Movie. I felt like I was hooked up to the various hospital machines and various games were involved, like Galgun. Now, Galgun is a rail shooter like House of the Dead by Sega, except you shoot high school anime girls instead of zombies. What do you shoot them with? A sawed-off shotgun? No, you use a pheromone gun. You get after being shot by Cupid's arrow, and you have to pick the one you want to be with. Like Tokimeki, pretty sure it means Heartbeat Memorial by Konami, which is the first dating sim, I believe. Galgun wasn't released outside Japan, but Double Peace was, and they have another one because Galgun 2. So see if that comes over here. I was also wrapped in a lot of gauze, which ties into the nightmare I had, which included a bunch of people from the army and really fast medical procedures and advanced technology. There were also a lot of gingers, which is cool with me. I find them exotic, rare, and unique. I feel like this is connected to South Park too. Ed Sheeran's got soul for a ginger, you gotta admit. Thinking out loud. Anyway, back to the gauze. I had so much that it looked like bass from Mega Man Battle Network. Yes, again with the bass. No Megan Trainer. He has a dog like Mega Man's Rush named Treble. He can fuse with him and fly. I feel like I was being manipulated by unknown medical forces. I feel like this is honorology, the study of dreams gone wild. I felt like the only rule to this strange hospital game was don't fall or else it's game over. Luckily, I never fell. I had some close calls though. So remember when I talked about South Park and swimming trunks? I dreamt that I was made into a character on South Park, but like the Good Times with Weapons episode. I had my speech book from speech class and I gave a speech, but I forgot what it was about. I believe the Crazy Town, the band most known for a song called Butterfly, was there. Maybe they even calls it Butterfly Effect. The girl that was on their album cover for the Gifted Game was there too. She might be called Lolita. There's a song about her called Lollipop Porn. And at the end of the South Park episode, I'm pretty sure my cousin Tim was there, and we were swimming at Myrtle Beach based on Where's Waldo Beach t-shirt. I thought my t-shirts had some mystical powers, or people thought the shirts were important. So the swimming trunks make sense now. However, that was only a dream. I never went to Myrtle Beach. All I did was get hurt from this game of death, I think. Did supermanic delusions really cause me to get hurt? There's lots of elements to the shattered memory I have. For one, there's repression, which seems to be an automatic defense mechanism for dealing with extreme trauma and dissociated memory. My memories are a glass menagerie, but since I have a photographic memory, pictures take me back to that time. Music helps also. It can transport me to when I was when I first heard a Chapter 7, A Wanted Guess. Music that I enjoy also soothes the savage beast, aka my manic state. Or even when I get depressed, which is rarely, music tends to help me out. I believe it was Fela Kuti who said, music is the king of all professions. And I definitely agree with this statement, and I'll eventually try to get involved with the music biz one day, eventually. Maybe, I doubt it. Today, now more than ever, we hear music pretty much everywhere like we go, like it's the soundtrack to our lives. This is an important clue to remember for later. Raging clue alert! Alright, back to St. Louis Bethlehem. So they have a board with all these symbols like a stat screen for a character in an RPG. I don't remember the first woman nurse's name. It might have been Heather. She had piercings and tattoos. I think she mentioned something about the Beauty and the Beast musical that was going on somewhere. She was a brunette, I think. My brain isn't where I want it yet. I wish my memory was better. New chapter Hold Mega. Fish oil seems to help. Anyway, this is before Adriana showed up. She showed up later. So this nurse got my vitals and everything. And I think I passed out when Adriana showed up. I remember some of the names like Missy, Eric, and Lauren. When Adriana showed up, it was time for a meal. Now, this is going to sound ridiculous, but I figured out by mirroring Eric's movements were similar to the canary in the 3DS Sound and Music program. I also figured out that the Street Pass Me info is almost set up exactly like the CDs and character gallery from Mega Man and Base, which released in the GBA, Game Boy Advance in the USA, and Super Famicom in Japan. It takes place after Mega Man 8 and has a similar graphic style. And it's the only classic Mega Man game I can never beat. That game is soul crushing. So back to St. Luke's in Bethlehem. I got something somewhat healthy to eat. Adriana got basically fast food. Then Eric was insinuating that she was a gorilla, maybe a silverback, and I was not cool with that. But I thought Adriana would pick up on it because usually nothing gets past her. She has amazing perception and she's very intelligent, which is a big reason why I'm attracted to her. I call her an expert sometimes, so I know she has ESP, extrasensory perception. I'm going to get her tarot cards one day too because I think she got the gift. So they indirectly call her a gorilla, and I think I had a catheter in my schlong, and it was very awkward to use the bathroom. I felt like there was optical illusion that everybody else could see, but I couldn't. And then I remember occlusional warning. It was your auditory alerts, like the various machines they had me hook up to. To me, occlusional sounds like a clue. So I always knew something was afoot when I heard ding ding. And I had an IV for saline, I believe, and I was hooked to an EKG. And I think some of the stickers were temporary tattoos. I forget the significance of the tattoos, but maybe they're important. I don't know. I'm sure they connect to the past or present. I'm exploring the good, bad, and the ugly like Dora the Wild Thornberries. Aha! I never just getting a print out of that crazy count to get the game. The album cover is very interesting, but the game aspect has the video games for me. I'm not a player, nor do I plan to be one anytime soon. I mean, I can be player one looking for player two. Chapter 8, Lolita, Lolita. So back to Lolita on the cover of Crazy Town, the Gift of Game. She has horns to hold up the halo. This more than likely means she plays innocent, but has a dirty, kinky side to her. On her right arm is a tattoo of a butterfly, obviously connected to the most popular song they had around 99 2000 when this was released. The pigtails also play into the whole deceiving innocence thing. She also has a choker around her neck and a matching bracelet on her left arm, which is covered in a wavy flame design. I guess the flame design can signify the fiery rage of women. I'll have no fury like a woman's scorn, as the old quote goes. Also, her licking the lollipop is another seemingly innocent thing, but the look in her eyes says otherwise. It's important to remember Lolita because she shows up later, and I can connect this album to my friend at the time Timmy Meeks. I won't spoil what happened now, but I'll touch on it later when the time comes for such a thing. So when Adriana was there at St. Louis Bethlehem, I believe Missy and Eric were asking her where she wanted me to go next, and there were two choices. Someplace in either Walnut, Port of Lehighton, and Luke's Quakertown, St. Louis Quakertown. Adriana picked St. Louis Quakertown, so I signed the necessary paperwork that I had to sign and had to wait a certain time until I could be released. And so I'm pretty sure I had to talk with Eric about this book called I Love You, But I Don't Trust You. This is a great book that I feel really captures how Adriana feels. The best thing about the book is how it talks about confronting your painful memory and finally coming to terms with it and being able to move forward in your life onto whatever life throws your way next. This book also has different phases so you can determine whether there's a chance to save a relationship or if it's too late to save it. Adriana really hurt my feelings when I asked her if she wanted to go to the good therapist, Dr. Andrea Richmond. And she said she thinks it's too late, like we're a lost cause with no hope. Yeah, Adriana and I met on a whim with very unlikely circumstances. I was upfront about everything with her in the beginning about how I was a nerd in the army, was only going to be in the Tobyhanna/Pocono area for 2 weeks. We went out on a few dates, had a good time, hit it off. Then I learned to set up radios, mess around with different frequencies and send to Earth, set up signal towers, and use daggers to find land to have points. Then before I know it, it's time to get on the plane and go back to Oklahoma. And I'm saying goodbye, and we exchange numbers, and we stay in touch. And we're in a long distance relationship for about a year. And I would fly to PA to come see her twice before I made the big move. Second time I came to PA, we stayed in a Holiday Inn in Allentown for 3 to 5 days before her birthday in August. Then we saw each other again in late November, early December. We stayed in Candlewood Suites in Willow Grove outside of Philly. We went to this place called Arnold's Family Fun Center. That place was huge. They had at least 50 arcade cabinets, laser tag, go-karts, and a lot of prizes. The only thing that was creepy was we were the only people there for a while. This was 2009. Fast forward to 2014, they put me on a stretcher and put me in the ambulance and then transported me to St. Louis Quakertown where things got really crazy, and then they calmed down eventually. Chapter 9, Full-Blown Psychosis Unleashed. So when I arrived at St. Louis Quakertown, it was full-blown psychosis unleashed. There were people screaming Kristen Bell for some reason, and I'm pretty sure a little brother, Fonte, Rapper, Big Pooh, or Ninth Wonder, were performing the minstrel show in its entirety live. Maybe it was a reunion thing, because these guys weren't together anymore as far as I know. Of course, crazy time before the gift again. Then I remember seeing ghosts, and there was a quiz portion, but if people got the question wrong, they got hurt or killed like it was a game of death. I'm not sure if Bruce Lee was there or not. Not only that, there was a different fighting game being showcased every night, like Marvel's Capcom 2, Mortal Kombat Trilogy, Samurai Showdown 2, or Rival Schools, to name a few. If a player lost the game, they died. No continue. There were words of wisdom being passed around by Teresa, who was an RN or a mental health technician. Apparently, doing laps around the hospital would cause the spirits to be able to rest, and some of them were very vengeful spirits. Now, I'm a skeptic of the supernatural, but all these ghosts were roaming the halls. I even met Adriana's dad, or I saw him at least. I was very much in a state of disbelief, and I don't know if this was real or not. But it felt real at the time it happened. I don't know if it was the drugs, my psychosis, or both. I don't really know if mediums are real or not. They could just all be frauds. But for some reason, I saw spirits, and I've never claimed to be able to communicate with spirits. Another thing connected to ghosts is supposedly true ectoplasm. This is supposed to be science/evidence remains of ghosts, but I don't know if this is true or not. If there's some kind of technology they use to analyze ectoplasm. My cousin Chris shared an article through Facebook about spirits running wild over here on the East Coast, where I now reside in 2014. I didn't think much of it at first, but there might be something to it considering what happening in July. My cousin Chris is a huge Ghostbusters fan. He's made maybe 4 proton packs and a couple of ecto ones. He's a very dedicated individual. To use the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle analogy, he's Donatello, I'm Michelangelo, then my nephew Rashad is Raphael, and my other nephew Ryan is Leonardo. We all grew up together until Chris went to Orlando for many years, and it was just 3 of us, the treacherous 3, if you will. I think it was Donald Duck who had nephews Huey, Dewey, and Louie. Okay, enough analogies for now. Let me explain the rules I remember this game of death. The first rule is the clock. When the lights are on, the time goes slow. When the lights are off, it goes faster. Another rule I remember is when we set up to the nurse's station, we had to put up a finger for how many people we wanted to talk to. 1 finger for 1, 2 fingers for 2. You get the idea. If we didn't do this, bad things would happen, like earthquakes or somebody dying. But walking several laps around would put their souls to rest somehow. Maybe there are some universal rules of dealing with spirits. I think this is the type of stuff that isn't necessarily connected to gods or deities. If people ask me about my religious situation, I usually respond with agnostic because there's no proof of whether or not there's a god. Nowadays, I tend to lean towards Buddhism because I want to have the focus and dedication of a monk someday when I'm not so physically damaged. Chapter 10. Dreams, trips, and games. Breaking news. This just in. Ectoplasm is completely fraudulent and not accepted by science. Science has a final say on everything as far as I'm concerned. Then I looked into neurology and study of dreams in a great album by the Cunning Linguist. I found out about illusory dreams being very abstract as opposed to authentic dreams, which focus more on our memories. I also discovered that PTSD and schizophrenia are dreaming disorders. In this abnormal psychology book that Tip gave me, I've read 3 chapters: bipolar, schizophrenic, and PTSD. I can relate to most of the things in these 3 chapters. Anyway, lithium and Zyprexa will work for me. Back to religion, I personally feel like the coexist shirts that I see. If Joseph Smith or Lord Zeno helps you sleep better at night, cool. But when you start killing in the name of your gods, clash religion, that's when things go wrong. Then Holy Wars start. Trust me, Holy Wars are not just some short skirmish. They can go on for a long time. Just look into the history of the Middle East. I'm pretty sure even some of the conflict today could classify as a holy war. You know the whole my God is better than Allah nonsense. Allah is God in their culture. Christianity, Judaism, and Islam are all branches of the monotheistic tree from Abraham. It's the Abrahamic religions. I personally find the polytheistic religions a little bit more interesting, but science is number 1. But I saw this documentary on Netflix called DMT, the Spirit Molecule. I believe it had to do with out-of-body experiences and people becoming one with the universe in very hypnotic, trippy, awe-inspiring colors and patterns. It sort of reminded me of this strange video game called Dyad, which had trippy visuals, lights, and sounds. I barely remember the rules to that game, but I'm pretty sure the objective changed often to break up the monotony that a lot of video games have. Anyway, back to St. Louis Quaker Town. I'm pretty sure these shadows would creep it around and attempt to torment me, similar to this PS1 video game called Heart of Darkness. Maybe I played too many video games and I get trapped in the inner depths of my subconscious. I don't play many video games nowadays. I like to get involved in translating the more unique and interesting Japanese games, though. A few of my favorites are the Loop Salad series, Princess Crown, Koro Koro Post-nin, and Kyoto-chan no Prikura Dai Sakusen. The Japanese level isn't too high in these games, so I could probably translate them or assist in doing so. I feel like loop salad should be a household name. It's the only salad you can't eat, but it's salad for your brain because those games will test your mind hardcore. They released for the PS1, DS, and PSP. The DS and PSP versions are the best because they made the hint system easier to work with than the first one on PS1. I believe Fupac is the developer and Datum Polystar is the publisher. Technically, it's called Loop Cube Loop Salad. A loop salad is a puzzle game where you play a salad, the little blonde girl, and you can jump around and jump and push blocks around the stage. Match at least 3 blocks of the same color to make them disappear. It's deceptively simple at first, but later becomes real complex and might have you pulling your hair out trying to figure out some of the stages. There's a story involving Salad's uncle, as well as her dad and other family members, as she travels to different places wearing different costumes, and each world has its own theme song with lyrics sung in Japanese, of course. You can change the music to a different instrumental track if you get tired of the vocal track, or complete silence if you want. Now, on to the one and only Princess Crown. This game was made in collaboration between Sega and Atlas. George Kamitani worked on this game, and later he founded Vanillaware, who are anything but vanilla. But this game is partially inspired by Wonder Boy or Zelda 2, and would become the template for their future games such as Odin Sphere, which is getting remade for current hardware, and Murmaz's Demon Blade. All these games are side-scrolling action RPGs with the emphasis on item management and cooking. Another one of my favorite obscure Japanese video games I discovered is Korokoro Postnin. Roughly translates to rotating post person. Media entertaining, at least around 2002 for the PS1. The story goes something like you have a robot dad and you have to deliver Shinbun or newspapers, or else everyone will be pissed off and wreak havoc. Think of it as Paperboy with a time limit. Everybody knows that game, but instead you are a girl and the game plays completely different. It's a 2D side scroller, but you shift the screen around by moving Akane, the main character, and there are even Team Rocket like villains you have to deal with. All you have to do is slide past the mailboxes. You will hear Akane scream "Shinbun," which is just Japanese for newspaper. And the game seems simple, but it gets complex with the screen shifting and hazards. I think it would really work on smartphones today with the screen shifting. Kind of reminds me of Bubble Ring Fling a little bit, but apparently that's not available anymore for some reason. Last but not least is a gorgeous 2D platformer called Kyoto-chan no Purikura Dai Saksen. Kyoto-chan no Purikura Dai Saksen reminds me of Yoshi's Island, except he's a chocolate parrot and not a dinosaur. Kyoto-chan even does the same airwalk. Purikura are photo booths, which is a unique aspect of the game. You're finding the photo booths and doing different poses. I'm pretty sure Daisaksen means operation or battle plan. He's the mascot for Morinaga, a Japanese chocolate company. There are various mini games slash bonus rounds like shooting basketball to get power ups and shooting projectiles. Now back to St. Louis Quakertown. Chapter 11: A Bad Combination. Alright, I have a confession to make. I've never played any of Atlas's Trauma Center games, but I feel like there have been subtle references to the series ever since I've been in behavioral health units last year. And this is going to sound weird, but I felt like one time I took a shower and had a magical girl sex change into a transformation to a ginger woman doctor because I heart ginger women, as anybody who knows me well knows this. Come on. Shirley Manson, Haley Williams, Florence Welch. They're great, gorgeous singers, just name a couple. I don't really know why this happened. I've had a dream about being a woman before middle school, but this felt too real. It didn't last very long, and I think I had B or C cups. There is no logical explanation for this magical sex change, but I swear it happened. Then there was some Mega Man 6 related shenanigans going on, and the next day I became Tomahawk Man. He wears a feathered headdress typical of America's native tribesmen. I remember this had a connection to somebody named Lauren, I believe it has a connection to Dr. Lisa Doherty, a fantastic doctor, I must say. Then I remember a People magazine with Kendra Wilkinson on the cover. These magazines tied into these fatality-like sequences that would occur usually at night because that's how my mania works. There were around 40 or 50 of these sequences. There's one that involved my dad Zellman in a barber's chair with the cape to cover a person in the chair. I guess there was some Sweeney Todd-like situation. Then there were several of these events, and they were all connected to books and magazines plus cups sometimes. My mania bothered me for the first few nights I was there. I was given different diagnoses and meds. I think my diagnosis went from paranoid schizophrenic to schizoaffected to bipolar with manias with psychosis, aka type 1. I forget all the med combinations, but the final one was LRC, lithium, risperidone, and cogen. I forget the amount. I think the lithium was 1,200 milligrams daily, and the other ones were 2 milligrams for risperidone and 3 milligrams for cogen. Spoiler, I hated this combo, even though it reminds me of the GameCube controller, LRC, get it, which is so comfortable. Anyway, this combination is bad news for me. It turns me into a zombie. I move super slowly. And everybody asked me, why you moving so slow? It's the meds, people. It's too much. My only goal was to stay human like Michael Franti and Spearhead. Well, for around a year, I was stuck in zombie mode, dealing with the dosage, which started high and got higher because of my manic episodes. I'd wake up at 3 a.m. and follow the voices because I thought I could trust it, but it's against me. The voices almost led me to a rooster, but I stopped and thought of Alice in Chains song Rooster, where they say, here they come to snuff the rooster. Oh, yeah. And that's where I stopped dead in my tracks. I saw an SUV swerve, pull up, and do a U-turn. I took that as the ultimate warning to just go back home. Whoops, I'm getting ahead of myself. I forgot to introduce the cast of characters from St. Luke's Quakertown. There were a lot of patients, but I only remember a few. You had Diane, Evan, Kaylin, Jared, the South African woman, Alexis, and some old lady. And that's all I could remember. I remember mirroring Alexis, who's a guy, by the way, and some connection to Space Jam for some reason. I forget the South African woman's name, but she always said, I will beat you, or I beat you, all the time. It became contagious, and everybody started saying it. It was pretty funny. I remember Evan usually beatboxing, drawing cards, and reading his trippy, unique Bible. I couldn't forget Diane because she reminded me of my friend Megan Lochner. She looked just like her, minus her glasses. Diane had a holistic, organic, bohemian vibe to her, like a hippie, which is cool. She acted somewhat like Piper, the main character of Orange is the New Black. I remember Jared because he was pretty obnoxious and loud. He also wanted my Tony the Tiger shirt and pants, and I gave it to him. But looking back, he probably would be able to fit my clothes. I'm skinnier than him. He was a bigger guy, but he was friendly to me. He gave me his number, but unfortunately, I lost it. Chapter 12, Good Path. Now for something that's positive. Jan was a music therapist, and she would bring her guitar sometimes to play. But, and she taught everybody PMR, progressive muscle relaxation, which involves tensing up your muscles and holding your breath, then releasing the tension and your breath after a few seconds. This is a useful technique to relieve stress and clear the mind. Another useful technique was tracing the square. Simply put, you locate a square or rectangle with your eyes and you inhale and exhale as you trace horizontally and vertically. GM will usually put on ambient sounds or relaxing music, which helped the process. It was around this time that my mania started to calm down and was kept at bay. I was still paranoid about the books and magazines and their connections to these events, plus Chris with glasses told me there was going to be a quiz, and I remember rehearsing for a few of these events. One of them involves Teresa, who I think knows Raheem Jarbo, aka Mega Ran. Supposedly she's Splash Woman. I feel like Adriana is my Splash Woman because she's the only one. The only one for me, and the only one of the Dr. Wily robots who's a woman. Another event involved Lauren and some other nurse. I think Brandy and Tabitha were involved somehow also. I really feel like my subconscious was creating an amalgamation of random nonsense based on people I knew. Not only that, but the whole world wants platinum, which I think was the final part of the South Park dream. Me working for Platinum Games, but that would never happen. Pipe dreams are silly. Gotta go for something more practical. Pipe dreams only lead to disappointment. I used to have pipe dreams, but I did research and woke up to reality. Maybe if I had enough money through other means, maybe I can fund my pipe dreams. But until then, I gotta stay with the practical steez, you dig? So that and the OOH, or the Occupational Outlook Handbook, so maybe change my major from animation to CIS, Computer Information Systems. The IT fields are growing. There's guaranteed jobs I'm done with college. Animation, not so much, but I still don't forget about animation. It's still in my heart, from Disney to Tex Avery, Don Bluth, and even Studio Ghibli, to name a few. But my mind tells me to be more practical so I can have guaranteed money and I won't have to struggle as much like I am right now. I was in a homeless shelter for a month. I never thought I would be in one of those kinds of places, but you never know what life will throw you away. I'm glad they have places like this in the Allentown area. I've been sleeping on a park. I would have been sleeping under a park bench or under a bridge without a place like this, so I was grateful. But back to the IT field. In this day and age, is necessary evil. We live in an increasingly technological world. In spite of that, I'm writing this novel in a notebook because I believe that the analog is just as important as the digital. They go together hand in hand, and when the digital fails, and believe me, it will fail, the analog is there to back it up. Being too dependent on technology can be toxic, so everything in moderation, is the old saying goes. Most people on their smartphones nowadays are just like mini computers in our hands. I'm just usually in my notebook, jotting down whatever comes to mind. Sometimes it's poems or songs and ideas, but the novel is the main focus right now for me. I want to self-publish and charge small amounts of dinero for the short novel series. I decided to break it up into volumes because of our current times and the age of no privacy / internet era we're in. Short attention span is to be able to handle 27 pages, but after I typed it, that changed. But there's significance to the numbers used in the format when I wrote it in my notebook. There are 4 chapters apiece, like quadrants or a myriad of other things, like party and RPG or whatever. 27 pages for the 27 Club, and 120 lines per chapter because of Oscar 120%. Oh, how I love Oscar 120%. It's a goofy all-girl fighter that was released on several systems like the PC Engine, PlayStation, Saturn. My favorite character, Karina Toyota. She's in the chemistry club and fights with a flaming frog named Keropyon. Just brilliant. Anyway, Brittany told me about Lulu, and I'm pretty sure you can self-publish on Amazon with Kindle and the Nook for Barnes& and Nobles, and I'll eventually put them on Audible for the audiobook version. Caleb can read everything. He's got the perfect voice for it. But I'm not exactly around him anymore, so we can't really do that. So I'll do it too. My voice is so-so. I know it'll be at least 4 volumes. I can't decide if I'll do 5 or 6. It's a work in progress. Chapter 13. Close one door, open another. So I spent 2 weeks in St. Louis, Quakertown. A lot of people came and went, but that's something I got used to being in the Army, the revolving door of life and people. Adriana came to visit once, and things seemed to be fine at that point. The meds had been in my system for a little over a week, and they checked my lithium level, and I'm in the ideal range of 0.5 to 1.2. My mom was stressed and disability, but I like to earn my money, not collect the check with no effort. It always feels better to earn something than having it handed to you. Plus, I was in a condition where I could still work. I remember Dr. Prayson was the head doctor there. There were some similarities with me and him in Oklahoma. I was born in St. John's Hospital in Tulsa, and he knew where that was and about the world's largest McDonald's, aka the Glass House, about how it's above the I-44 highway. So I got discharged, and this old lady snapped as I was leaving, like she was jealous. I think she was there longer than me. So I leave there, and naturally, all my problems went away. Well, isn't that cute? But it's wrong! So the last half of July was the St. Luke saga, but in August, Mania struck hardcore for me, and it was ugly. Here's where JoJo's Bizarre Adventure comes into play. Part 1 is called Phantom Blood. For some reason, I thought the events were happening to me or in my lifetime or perhaps to my ancestors. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is a series that goes through different generations. It's a story just from one part to the next. My mom gave me a genealogy chart of my dad's side of the family. I guess since I knew so little about them, my imagination ran wild in efforts to connect the dots. I believe there was a horse-drawn carriage that toppled over in a wreck. I think the time period was the late 1800s at this point. George Joestar, Jonathan's father, lost his life in a wreck with the carriage. I remember hearing a loud horse whinny before I heard the crash. Everyone who was there thought I had lost my mind. They were right. My overactive imagination had become my worst enemy, and the only answers any doctors had was meds, meds, and more meds, which worked as far as getting rid of my psychosis. I was hearing voices all the time telling me to go to places around Lansford at 3 a.m. One time I left without taking my phone or saying anything to Adriana, and she worried pretty badly. She's a great person, but my mental issues have been like hell for her. She's been working with mentally challenged people for about 10 years, and when she gets home, she doesn't want to deal with that at home. I've been nothing but a burden for her in the past 2 years when all my mental health problems came up. Truth be told, I'm sure I had problems before then, but I was doing a better job at managing stress back then, I guess, with my artistic tendencies. Adriana was the only one to suggest I get help, and I'm forever grateful for that, even if we don't work out as a couple. She's a great woman who's incredibly receptive, wise behind her years, and just has a big heart. I wish her the best, even if she's not the one for me. Anyone would be lucky to have her in their life. Back to JoJo for a minute. In part 1, Phantom Blood, there's a stone mask. I have a mask myself, the Pharaoh mask. but it broke in half while I was hanging on the wall trying to figure out an easy way to wear the mask practically. Which ties into another series or character else I may call Dark Phantom, but that's besides the point. I just try to connect the parallels between different things as a means to relate to them more. My parallel processing is off the charts. I don't know why, but I feel like my parallel processing is an advanced learning mechanism that allows me to connect dots that other people don't see. Call it cerebral constellations. The short version, this could have been a possible reason of how I was able to do well in school, but I'm applying different principles from other classes to help me do better. Unfortunately, I suck at math, but I did well at geometry because I can connect to art, my personal fave. Chapter 14, Perspectives That Are New. I even have this one drawing called Geometry Gone Wild, which is supposed to be hypnotic with the patterns, but it's like what I like to call creatively applied science. It helps me cope as well as express myself in interesting ways. A lot of my art is connected to dreams. Most of my high school art projects are straight phone dreams, some of the newer ones too. After sucking in math, I guess it comes down to being right brain dominant, which focuses on creativity, faces, and emotions, more than left brain dominant, which focuses on names and numbers. But I can barely tell the difference between dreams, nightmares, reality, and I'll blame it on the psychosis. I forget how I discovered it, but there was this place near the Poconos called New Perspectives. Maybe the Carmen County mental health people pointed me in the direction of this place. I started running into doppelgangers of people I knew periodically over the next few months. I started attempting to connect the dots to things that barely made any sense. Like for parking, my Subaru was green and I saw a red car and then a white car pull up next to mine. This made me think of Italy since those are the colors of their flag. I thought that all these little subtleties was the universe or some mysterious figure trying to send me messages and riddles and I was decoding them. I'm pretty sure Witty Wildcat, my old dorm buddy, went to Italy, so maybe that was a connection there. Then Greg came over with his PS3, which is modded, and we played J Stars before release to the US and Dead or Alive 5. I don't even remember. I think he usually went with Tina. I'd usually pick Lei Fang. But then a guy named Pete from New Perspectives called me to let me know he was here. And I rushed downstairs with all my keys, but I didn't realize until I was in the car with Pete. So Pete turned the car around. And I go back to the apartment, banging furiously on the door for what seemed like 5 minutes. And I think Greg was in the bathroom, and he finally answered the door. Then I hurried and grabbed my keys and dashed back out the door and securely closed it. Then I get back in Pete's car, and we head towards New Perspectives. It was a mostly quiet car ride, a little conversation here and there. Maybe I fell asleep because it took 40 to 50 minutes. I think Pete stopped at a gas station to fill up his car. Then, not long after that, we were at New Perspectives. Now, I think this place will be classified as a group home. Unlike St. Louis Behavioral Health Unit, I could actually go outside, shoot some hoops, although I'm terrible at it. I mean, I played Little League when I was younger. I was decent at shooting, but terrible at dribbling, so I know when to quit if something's not going right. Plus, I got to soak up the beautiful nature in the area. When the sun rises in this place, it's incredible. Something not incredible is how I was greeted by a woman who looked exactly like my mom when she was younger. She kept encouraging me to escape for some reason, like she was trying to set me up for a trap. I needed help, so no escaping for me. Eventually, they had me Skype a doctor. It might have been Dr. Thomas, and recommended the dosage to go up. They tried to give me Thorazine, but I said, don't worry about it. Up in the dosage of the current med should be just fine. I just wanted the voices and delusions to go away. They went away while I became a zombie who moved too slowly, and this became a problem for work and the army. Adriana said my focus was better on those meds, but the negative outweighed the positive. I could barely hold a conversation or remember what I did an hour ago. My brain was complete mush. Plus, I was holding like stone nonstop when I took that LRC. I couldn't parallel process like I used to. My creativity and inspiration were completely gone, absolutely non existent. Needless to say, I did not like the guy I was becoming. I had no idea who this new Antoine was. He was a completely unwanted stranger who stumbled into my life. My voices and delusions were gone, but the cost of me becoming undead? I don't think so. I struggled taking the meds for almost a year, then I eventually had enough of them and stopped taking them. Chapter 15, Reminisce About Doppelgangers. I think I spent maybe a week at New Perspectives before Adriana came to pick me up. There was a woman named Becca there who reminded me of another Becca I knew who would often be caught Everett because she looked a bit like him. Last time I saw her was 2009 at ZoomiCon in Midwest City, which is about Oklahoma City, and I'll never forget because I got lost kind of bad like, and this is when I first got a Garmin. This was also the last time I saw Zach Zonizer, aka Philosopher Taku, one of my dorm buddies. Pretty sure he was cosplaying Kraft Lawrence from Spice and Wolf. He even had his own panel, and I showed up to it and surprised him. Good times. Megan was also there cosplaying as Holly Bell from Bleach. If you remember Diane from St. Louis Quakertown, I said she looked exactly like Megan, but maybe she's just another doppelganger. I have no idea why certain people look the same as others. Is it a hint about their genetic makeup, or is it a figment of my imagination? I'm not sure. Honestly, the truth eludes me. Some things I may never understand, but I always have the willingness to understand whatever I can, whenever I can, however I can. And I try to remain fairly open minded about things I'm very skeptical about. I'm just a big fan of proof over theoretical. There was this older woman who was there at New Perspectives who talked about this singer from the 70s named James Taylor. Looking into the genealogy chart my mom gave me, Alex and Jane Taylor are named at the top of the chart. I guess I was wondering if I was related to the singer. Seems ridiculous, right? The genealogy chart my mom gave me was for my dad's side of the family, the side I know next to nothing about. I'm fairly confident I inherited my mental illness from my dad. There's two Zarins on this chart. One was still born in 1974, and the other one's autistic, I believe, and still alive. My dad says his mind goes too fast, which is the same thing I was dealing with until I found the right combination of meds that makes everything bearable for me. I talk to him on the phone every now and then, and I feel like I get to know him a little better when we talk on the phone. I'm gonna go meet him some one day. He's in Seattle, Washington. So one of my friends, Cody. Well, technically he's in Yakima, I think. I know it's cheaper to fly to Seattle than it is to Oklahoma, where most of my family is. Even though my situation doesn't look that great, I try my best to keep a positive attitude so I can stay motivated from day to day. For some reason, I had to go to the Pocono Medical Center, maybe to check my lithium level. I agree. I guarantee it was on the higher end of the spectrum, like 1.0 or 1.1. There was some spunky nurse that wouldn't be named Lauren. One thing I always compare my mania to is the symbiote from Spider-Man. Most people know Venom and Eddie Brock. When Venom takes over Eddie, he's completely different and has no control over when he takes over. The main factor of my mania is stress. As long as the stress is low, there's no threat of me being manic. Pain doesn't help either, neither do negative emotions like sadness or anger. If all these conditions are met, then my mania could be unleashed. However, lithium and Zyprexa are a nice 1-2 punch combo to knock out any chance of mania. Depression doesn't strike me too often, so I don't have to deal with that too often. And as I said earlier, music too is a savage beast. And I think the symbiotes are weak against sound waves and fire, I believe. I could be wrong. It's been a while since I've watched or read anything Spider-Man related in the past few years. Now, my mania did strike at new perspectives. Something about an ominous tree and a chair next to it, like it was a torture device. That's why they upped the dosage. I even created my own symbiote named Stigma Spectre and drew a picture of my crusty yellow sketchbook with the Antron 5000 logo. Also, there were these hats that kept popping up. I remember I read one like Mario or Terry Bogard, and there was a hat that said Phoenix, maybe like Phoenix, Arizona, where Mega Ran lives now. Chapter 16 Long Journeys. Also, there was this homeopathic treatment facility there in Phoenix because Diane from St. Luke's Quakertown talked about it. I think Oklahoma has something like that too. Not sure. Now, one weird element from these ending sequences, which feature different characters from different video games like Diddy Kong and Dixie Kong, or Luigi and Daisy, to name a couple, they always ended with people traveling to faraway places. Now, the characters might not be real, but the places they went to were. You could say it was symbolism. Even if the ending sequence was Mega Man getting on Rush, it could be symbolic of getting on a plane to California, start a new life, or a new career path, or even finish a degree, or start a new one. Maybe even Love Life could feel a drastic move. Not many people knew I was going from OK to PA, and it still surprises people. I just figured I was going to get a lot of naysayers, so I didn't tell many people. My mom and my sister knew, and not many others. I still remember my sister being like, if they mess with you, they can answer to a Louisville slugger, or something like that. It was a long journey to make it to PA, about 15, between 15 and 20 hours, since I got pulled over and got a ticket in Missouri from Highway Patrol. But he made the ticket lower once I explained my story about wanting to be my woman who I hadn't seen since early December of '09. You're probably wondering why I'm reminiscing. It's because simply I want Adriana to feel the same way she felt in the beginning, to rekindle our spark of passion and a sense of progress and limitless potential, the opposite of how things are now, but before things got worse. But that's probably impossible. There's no such thing as time travel yet. But what's done is done, and no one knows if we'll be together by the time the new year comes around. Half of me wants to work it out, the other half wants to end it. I think she almost feels the same way, so it's not an easy decision between the two of us. Once I become more independent, I think maybe she might want me back more. Right now, a crippled guy who lives in a homeless shelter isn't sounding attractive to anybody. After New Perspectives was over with, I remember a new challenger had stepped up to the plate. It was a radio station called 97.9X. They broadcast to Hazleton, Wilkesboro, and Scranton. But somehow I picked them up in Lansford with the occasional static. I feel like somebody got in my car around Firewitch time and set this car on my radio station. I mean, it's a good station. I like it. They play rock from the 70s up until now, so decent variety. Plus, free beer and hot wings is a hilarious, no holds barred morning show. Now, in my more paranoid state, I thought this radio station was narrating my current situation of trying to solve the mystery of who was breaking into the apartment, if anyone was at all. I remember Incubus, maybe Hoobastank, Crawling in the Dark being one of the song that described my situation perfectly at the time. Also, Cumbersome by 7 Mary 3 perfectly related to my situation. And so, in case you didn't know, I do these Pudgy Penguin comics. In them, Pudgy and his amoeba friend Garl get involved in various hijinks and eventually stumble onto having unusual superpowers that become problematic. Once the super zeros get introduced, it's a spoof slash what not to be. Most people look up and want to be slash cosplay as most superheroes, but not super zeros. So I live in this place called Electric City. Now, I wouldn't learn this until I moved to PA, but Scranton is the Electric City. I was just using it as a play on words for electricity. Now, this is where I started to think that someone at the radio station had acquired my comics and that the people at the station were secret fans. This probably didn't happen, but I felt like I would connect every song to something about my life, and I thought Free Beer and Hot Wings were subtly referencing my comics for some reason, and the whole me being a main character amongst this madness. When I was out driving over to encounter uniquely marked cars with details and logos, and they became my racing rivals. Maybe me playing too many racing games, and I would take them on with my Green Subaru Legacy and usually win. My overactive imagination was rearing its ugly head again, but hey, I had fun. Nobody got hurt. Plus, there was "There Goes My Hero" over and over again. But me being manic created these ridiculous situations, ridiculous scenarios that leave most people scratching their heads. You see, most of the ghosts were connected to someone I know. And one ghost I indirectly confronted with my friend Timmy. I got mail from one of his relatives and went to the police station and encountered his bike that he used to ride when we were younger. This felt too real. Probably a dream. I remember touching the bike, and I think I told the cops to hold on to the bike. I believe there was a time limit, and the bike disappeared. Even weirder was John C. McGinley, also known as Dr. Cox on Scrubs, was the officer I talked to. Something seemed wrong with his eyes, but I have no idea why he was there. But the officer looked just like him, maybe another doppelganger. Another thing that happened to me is as I was leaving the Lehigh GameStop, I swear someone was following me in my car. I remember going down this road in Summit Hill, White Bear, I think. The car was fast on my trail. As I sped up, they sped up. Then I eventually got fed up and pulled over so they could pass. They screamed something I couldn't understand, but something seemed eerily familiar about them. Often Adriana and I would watch Pretty Little Liars, and that show will mess with your head, but it really makes you think, too, about who did what and why. It had me paranoid out of my mind. Plus, in the spinoff Ravenswood, I think they went to Summon Hill and it was haunted. After that, I remember being very paranoid about the other classmates in my speech class, like they were always talking about me. I remember while I walked past one of them in Lansford, then later decided to walk with my 3DS in my back pocket to get some coins and maybe some street passes. I ran into two women, Rebecca and Mrs. Herb. For some reason, I was convinced there was going to be a musical about Mega Man 7, and I would play the part of bass, of course. I ran into Roxy all the time, even one called Timmy, which is spooky. I'm pretty sure I'd get challenged often in Legend of Zelda: Link Between Worlds to get my ass handed to me in a bread basket, but my death had a positive effect, like bringing people back to life for some reason. Then there was Yumi's Odd Odyssey, or Sayonara Umihara Kawase, with its impossible shenanigans. Then Mighty Switch Force has you catching criminals. With Patricia Wagon, the cop, and then she's a firefighter in the sequel, rescuing people. You see, some of these people
Some of these characters remind me of people I knew. My memory is too hazy to recall their names, but if I saw their face, I'm sure the memories would come back to me. You see, I like syncretism, which is combining different cultures and schools of thought together to get the best result. You would think this kind of thinking would be common in a melting pot, but it's not. Such is the irony of the US of A, though. Most people simply want things to be monochromatic as opposed to kaleidoscopic, I guess. I'm speaking in art terms because that's what I know. Monochromatic is one color, kaleidoscopic is many colors. To me, the colors represent culture and schools of thought. One of my favorite songs to touch upon this is Coin Toss by Panacea. Panacea is so ahead of their time. They describe their sound as Final Fantasy meets A Tribe Called Quest. Nobody sounds like them at all. Raw poetic raps, K Murdoch produces. I was lucky enough to actually meet K Murdoch at Too Many Games in 2015. After I bought the Forever Famicom Jump Drive, he had his beats. It was an extra bonus. I just need something that can play cassettes now, or at some point, so I can check it out. I love K Murdoch's beats. He's easily a top 5 or top 10 producers in hip hop today. His beats make me feel like I'm floating on clouds, and raw poetic rhymes like being swooped up in a plane while being inside clouds. I can't recommend Panacea enough. If you think hip hop is terrible, please give them a Doomtree listen. Who's Doomtree? The best hip hop crew to bring the heat since Wu-Tang or Jurassic 5. They even released a free download that mixes Wu-Tang and Fugazi called Bugazi. The remixes of POS, Dessa, Sims, Mike McClellan, Cecil Otter, Paper Tiger, and last but not least, Laserbeak. Dessa's my personal fave. She raps and sings very well. Voice of an angel. They come from the eclectic music scene of Minneapolis, Minnesota. They're among several who are the complete opposite of what hip hop is represented on the terrestrial radio/TV, along with Mellow Music Group being the best, most consistent label. It's like the second coming of Def Jux, another great indie label from early 2000s. I shake my fist at Clear Channel and Viacom, but the internet plus YouTube and other music streaming sites are changing that. Sam Cooke warned us all, and Kendrick Lamar won some Grammys, so there's hope for people who want to make thought-provoking music. Back to syncretism. It was the type of thinking that put Europe on top of the world many years ago. Then the US was on top, but I don't think we're on top anymore. Maybe China, Switzerland, India. Now, here's a random shift in tone. Part of the reason I don't feel safe in my old apartment where Adriana lives is I was almost killed. Then whoever they are, they took my golden microphone and my cat of nine tails and my binder with the Pudgy Penguin comics. I missed that binder the most because I had a concept art for my next series of Forgotten Ones, which is more serious and very different from Pudgy Penguin. However, most of this can be traced back to the 3DS. I got to clear the sound/music section and get all the hints. It's funny how your knees are only set up like the CDB database of characters in Mega Man and Bass. The only shred of evidence I have is OSU cup holder and some picture of a guy when he was a kid. I have no idea who it is. All I know is they got something against me, and I guess I've made myself too vulnerable of a target. I just hope they don't hurt anyone I love. I wonder if someone's really out to get me or if my paranoia gone out of control. Oh, I found the Pudgy Penguin binder hidden underneath stacks of newspapers at the old apartment later on, but still no golden microphone and cat of nine tails. Where the hell are they? The golden microphone is significant because it's golden, and I found it in the trunk of my Buick LeSabre, aka the aluminum Falcon, when I first got it. As far as the cat of nine tails, well, I'll let you take a guess. I got that at a Renaissance fair when I was in high school, I believe. Not so fun fact, Jesus was whipped with one, or so the story goes. Whoever took it probably knows that also. Or they're in the BDSM. Nah, I doubt that. Who knows? I decided that I'm not going to let it bother me, and I can always get another one if I choose to. My paranoia has pretty much gone away, which is the plus side of being medicated with a combination that works and doesn't have too many side effects. It's nice. It's just nice to have a sense of closure with it all for once. I'm one step closer to gaining back my sanity and getting back on the right path where I can have maybe a brighter future. Delusions no more. There's much better things in store for this once conflicted man who just wants to put his toes in the sand. This has been my story. We all have men in mosaics. What's yours?
Epilogue. Love is over.
So Adriana is not Splash Woman or Daisy. She's more like G2 from Inspector Gadget 2 or Irish from Mega Man X4. So, you don't have to fight her and, so I don't want her to die, but she's not the one. We're over and done with. 7 years of bad luck, but I felt like a boulder was lifted from my shoulder when I broke up with her. She wants kids like yesterday. Me, I can wait a few years. I got degrees to finish, jobs to get, a lot of traveling to do, and plenty more to write, draw, and paint. Electroconvulsive therapy, or ECT, may or may not have happened during my time in St. Louis Quakertown. I don't think I asked anybody at ECT at St. Louis Quakertown. I believe I inquired about Lehigh Valley Health Network in Muhlenberg. They didn't have it. Maybe I felt like a jolt was all I needed to set me straight. Plus, I'm a bit of a glutton for punishment and somewhat of a masochist, so I may have enjoyed it a bit. Is that strange? I was officially diagnosed as bipolar 1 in July 2014. Dr. Doherty had a hunch I was bipolar 1 in 2013, but no official diagnosis was made until 2014. Truth be told, I probably had bipolar 1 for a long time, maybe since childhood, but no one ever suggested that I needed to go to a doctor to get looked at. I mean, people always said I was crazy. I remember I used to tell people I was from Neptune, but not to the extent of literally getting my head examined. Maybe trying out my mom's old Milwaukee backfired on me at a young age. I found it therapeutic and edgy. Blame my rebellious streak, which I may or may not get from my dad. I haven't met him, but we talk on the phone every now and then. He seems like an alright guy. Maybe one of these days I'll meet him. I remember experiencing a long depression, maybe 6 months to a year after my brother Ronnie died, and hearing his voice, seeing him. I looked at the clouds. But as Adriana tells me, children are pure and untainted by the world, which is true. One of the drawbacks of the ECT is it can make you forget things. I personally have a problem with this because your memories are a part of who you are, and people die. Your memories you have of them are all you have to preserve them. If the afterlife is real, hopefully you meet everyone you've lost that's important to you, but nobody can prove this except for maybe near-death experiences and out-of-body experiences. Now that I'm done with the army, I feel like the puppet strings have been cut. Plus, when I do have kids, I can be there for them instead of fighting ISIS or getting blown up by an IED or suicide bomber or whatever ridiculous predicament this country gets ourselves into. Warring over fossil fuels and renewable energy has made great progress in the last few years to the point where it's more affordable. As any logical person knows, it's the way to go. While fracking goes on globally, but some places have banned it, which is great. But the damage is already done. Like if the polar ice caps melt, they'll still affect the environment regardless. I worry about the future of this planet, how it's getting raped by greed. I don't think we have fully functioning space stations yet, but like Protozoa from Xenon Girl of the 21st century, I'm looking for a supernova girl.